So, you want to make a podcast, huh? My name is Jess Fisher, and I work for Gen Z Media. We make podcasts like 6 Minutes, The Unexplainable Disappearance of Mars Patel, The Alien Adventures of Finn Caspian, The Big Fib, and a ton of other podcasts. Well, I don't make them. I just host a few and run the Instagram. But I was thinking, what if I did make one? What the hoot and holler, you know? I work for this company that makes some of the best podcasts out there, so why don't I just call my buddies at work and pick their brains? Not literally, of course. While I learn, you'll learn. From the basics, like what equipment do I use? How do I even come up with a cool idea in the first place? To the bigger stuff, like how do I get people to listen? And what different kinds of podcasts are out there? I'm here to help myself, and therefore you, learn. If you have questions about podcasting, email me at jessica@gzmshows.com. We'll try our best to answer them. Each episode will be like this, short and sweet, like 5 minutes tops. We want to give you all the tools you need to set course on your own. Let's make a podcast. No, it doesn't have a jingle yet. No, it doesn't have a title. Podcast title pending, I guess. So, first thing I should do, probably, is call my boss and see how he feels about me making a podcast about podcasting for Gen Z Media.
Hello?
Hey, Ben. Hi. Do you have a sec? No, Jess. It's Jess.
Jess. Sorry,
yes.
I didn't recognize your voice.
No, it's fine. I have this idea for a podcast, and I wanted to run it by you if you've got nothing going on.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, go for it.
Great.
I'm all ears.
Not totally settled on the title yet, but the idea is I teach our listeners how to make their own podcast. Huh?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many podcasts about how to make a podcast. You want to do one more?
Yeah, well, we have the best team in the biz, and I could just call you.
Nice of you to say.
You are. I could call you. I could call Chris. I could call Dave. I could call Claire. I could call
yourself.
Jen. I could call myself. And I got lots of friends in the biz, too, that I could just ask questions because I don't know how to make a podcast, but I think while I learn, I can help the audience learn. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. But you're sure you want to make a podcast?
Yeah, I've got lots of ideas. How many ideas am I spitting at you a day?
Oh, it's hard to keep. I don't think I can keep count. But you know, if you're going to make a podcast, I think the first thing you got to ask yourself is, what do you want to say, and who are you making it for? And if you're making a podcast about making a podcast, I guess the first thing you want to do is probably teach people who are already interested, right?
I think that's a great idea. Are you interested, listener? I can't hear you, but I hope you said yes out loud.
And if you're interested, you have to ask yourself what you're interested in saying. Mm-hmm. You know, you're interested in this idea of teaching more people who are interested in podcasts how to actually make them. Mm-hmm. All that matters is knowing what you want to say and understanding how to say it in audio and understanding who you're saying it for. I mean, That's how I think of it. Any show, whether it's funny or informative, you know, you got to know what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
You could change your mind once you get started, but you've got to at least have an idea about that.
Right. You literally can't get started without those things.
And a lot of people don't know. They start out with where we started out, which is, what is a podcast? Oh, okay. So now what do I have to do so that I can make a podcast?
Rather than idea first.
Rather than I have something to say, is the podcast. And I think I might want to say it in audio.
Yeah. Is the pod the format? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I think that's especially good for older kids who might, you know, their teachers say, okay, we're all going to be making podcasts. And they're like, okay, what is a podcast? So I can make one. Rather than chill, step back, ask yourself what it is you want to say and how to say it in audio. And you've already made a podcast.
Right. That's the hardest part, figuring out what you want to say and who you want to say it to.
It is the hardest part, figuring out what you want to say. It's true. Right. But it's also the most fun.
Yeah.
And you also don't have to worry about studying. You say you say what you want to say.
Right.
If eventually you can work your way around to that.
Right. Listeners, if you're listening now on the episode 1 of this podcast, maybe if you want, take out a piece of paper and write down some ideas. What do you want to talk about? Maybe in another column, who do you want to talk to when you're talking about that? And we'll help you along that journey.
I think that's going to be a great podcast.
Thanks, Ben.
Nice work.
Maybe I'll get started on it.
and when it's done, Will you let us put it on?
I think I might. Podcast Title Pending is a production of Gen Z Media. If you're an educator using podcasts in your classroom, visit us at gzmclassroom.com for materials, lesson plans, or to request a visit from a GZM creator. For more great family audio, go to gzmshows.com and follow us on social media at Gen Z Shows. Be sure to follow Podcast Title Pending wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any new episodes.
Shh, it's starting.
GZM Shows. Imagination Amplified.